Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I'd like to thank you gentlemen for a very stimulating presentation, exchange, and I encourage the audience to give them another rousing hand. My question is, Joseph, from the way you responded to Ali's question concerning the Trinity, and I might have heard this wrong, it seems like you're implying there's a Trinitarian tradition in Christianity. It has its more sophisticated and nuanced understandings that ultimately lead to a Unitarian position, and it has its crude manifestations. My question, and that the Qur'an is responding within that context when those who say that Jesus is the third of three have rejected faith. Could it be possible that the Qur'an is defending a Unitarian position that is in opposition to Trinitarian doctrine and all of its manifestations, and that Unitarian position was the position that was taken by those who were arguing against the Trinity at the early church synods and councils that were set up to affirm church doctrine on this issue?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's definitely a possibility to read it that way. But I do think that when it comes down to it, ultimately, I mean, remember that even a lot of the things, Robert Festicky has written an article that deals with the issue, bringing out that when you go into the intricacies of Trinitarian theology and particularly in the Catholic Church, that it is trying very hard to take into consideration many of the considerations that we have in theology as Muslims. And it really is trying to look very hard at how to maintain. I mean, this is the Catholic Catechism, the Orthodox Catechism, and that we believe in the one God. And they understand that for them, God is one, all right? Yes, God is one, and God is three in the Trinity at the same time, and you get into the ultimate details of that. Exactly where it all falls historically in the context of the Quran, I think, is something that we'll never fully know. But I do think that in terms of what it says, I mean, for example, when it says that the Virgin Mary is the part of the Trinity, in Surah Maryam, when it talks about that and making that the Trinity, I mean, this is not the Trinity as understood by the Catholics. You know, one of the things that Sheikh Hamza has brought out at times is that when you are talking to an atheist, and they say, I don't believe in God. And they say, well, what do you think God is? And then they tell you, say, well, I don't believe in that God either. And so a lot of times when you were to say to Catholics, say, we don't believe in the Trinity, if you were to go to most Muslims and they were to say, okay, well, what do you think the Trinity is? A Catholic who knows Trinitarian doctrine, see, I don't believe in that either. And so I do think that I think that when it comes to the question of the Trinity, I mean, there's been so much ink spilled within this, and it is a far more complicated doctrine than pretty much anything you have in basic Islamic creed, that it is something that there's always going to be a question. But yes, I am suggesting, A, that there is a way that it could be read as being, referring to misunderstandings and corruptions of that, but I also think that the possibility that you raise is definitely one as well.
Thank you. Next.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question and an idea. So